Our next session, Innovating Sustainable Travel Together. Please welcome to the stage our moderator, senior writer on the S&P Global Sustainable One Thought Leadership Team and co-host of the S&P Global podcast ESG Insider, Esther Whieldon, and Vice President of Sustainability Bookings Holdings, Kate Heiny.
Hi, and welcome to this fireside chat, where we will explore what is needed across the travel ecosystem to enable a more sustainable future for the travel industry. I'm here with Kate of Booking Holdings, and they're a provider of online travel services. So you may not recognize the parent company name, but chances are pretty high that to travel here, you use some of their services. They include Priceline, Booking.com, KAYAK, even OpenTable, so like your favorite restaurant reservation, and Agoda. So Kate, can you set the scene for us on this topic? How do you actually define sustainability in travel? It seems like a really big topic.
Thank you for inviting me. Thanks for engaging us in this conversation. I've heard the question about how do you define sustainability kind of come up in most of the sessions today and yesterday, and I think it's a really nice way to ground the conversation. I think we can all kind of agree that sustainability is about environmental, social, financial, kind of the breadth of those topics. That is how we look at sustainability, so it's the broad sense. As Booking Holdings, our commitment and our mission is to make it easier for everyone to experience the world. And incumbent upon us doing that is that there's a world worth experiencing. So, of course, sustainable travel or more sustainable travel is how we believe that we'll be able to achieve that.
Okay, and then big picture for these people in the audience, why should they care about this? How does this fit in the bigger picture?
I love how we started talking about this a little bit backstage, but I think, so big picture, kind of zooming out, I'm new to the travel industry. I was previously in fashion and apparel for a number of years, and my own philosophy, and I think it's fair to say kind of a perspective that I hold is the business models, the economic models, the models that we have right now that have gotten us to where we are today, that have created such a world of plenty for some people, are not the models that will bring us into the future or a thriving future where we are all able to experience plenty and thrive in the world. And so those models have to change. So at a macro level, right, like I think the business model needs to be changing. And for travel, there are some projections by the World Travel and Tourism Council, for instance, that by 2033, travel will make up $15.5 trillion in GDP. That's about 11.5% of the global economy's GDP. So we have to evolve business models, but we also, have the opportunity to really play a big part of the economy in the future. But those things don't quite jive in my mind. And the way to get there, again, is the opportunity to include social, environmental criteria in our decision making, and really to bring more sustainable models, and in this case, more sustainable travel to life.
So that figure you gave us, how much bigger is that? Is that like multiple times larger than what it is today?
Yeah. So figures vary. Figures vary, and in general, it's around 5 times larger than today. So it is significant. It is not a small growth.
So you're going to be making up a much bigger part of the economy, and you can't continue the model of today, is what you're telling us. It sounds like there's a lot of challenges inherent in that, and you have a pretty complex and varied group of players on this. But the first one I think of course, is consumers. When someone's planning a trip, unless they're a sustainability official, like many of us in the room, they're probably not thinking about the most sustainable option as the first thing, right? So how do you address that challenge? Like, how do you help them find sustainable solutions that they may not even know they're trying to find?
So actually, I don't want to be argumentative, but I would say that our Booking.com research, traveler research, we've done 9 years in a row now of our sustainable travel research product, shows that a large portion and growing of travelers, so this past year it was 75%, but it was 60, it was 50 before, 75% of travelers are actually looking for more sustainable ways to travel. Now, while that number in particular, 75%, might vary some across different reporting, I've seen it is 75 to 95% of travelers are actually looking for more sustainable ways to travel. So we actually believe that there is a draw there. There is an attitude, if you want to say, or people say they want to do something. I think and so there's an opportunity for us, from a business perspective, to actually meet that traveler need. And we've done that, we've done that in a few ways. We have a vast set of information from hotels and accommodations on what sustainability behaviors or practices they have in place. It's 1.4 million properties have actually submitted that information to us. We have about 16,000 properties with certifications across our platforms. So we have some of that information. I actually think that what is difficult is being able to provide aligned information or information that helps travelers to make the choices that they want. So we do not have consistent, credible, or comparable definition or data of what sustainable travel is in a manner that actually empowers travelers to feel that they have the information in all of the places that they want it to make those decisions. So you're probably hearing a little bit in there. There is a gap between what travelers say they want to do and how they actually action that, which I think is pretty consistent across a lot of consumer products and sustainability. There's an attitude behavior gap. We do have some exciting research coming out about that, but it's not quite final yet.
So you're teasing us.
Yes, I am. Okay. I am. It's an exciting set of information, and really the purpose is to actually be able to help ourselves, but the industry, and provide that data to actually align kind of what we're working on, so that we can actually overcome those barriers and provide the solutions across the industry.
Great. So then what is your approach to working with suppliers and accommodation partners to help increase the suite of options for customers?
Well, we actually look for partnerships in many different places. So we can also talk about, we have industry organizations and partnerships alignment, which is a very complicated space. But with suppliers and with our accommodation partners, for instance, we have right now, actually, just this past year, we launched 2 specific programs, our Agoda brand and our Booking.com brand, partnered with individual organizations to help actually educate, build the awareness, upskill some of the accommodations that they work with that we're actually asking for that support. So they even recognize, hey, travelers are looking for this information. We're not entirely sure what are the best practices that we should be implementing at our location. And so we've developed a program with the UN Tourism Group in order to educate partners in that space.
Give me an idea of some of the things that you do recommend that they look at or consider.
Well, there are things like energy efficient programs within a facility, water savings, a lot of the things that you might recognize as a traveler as well, right? Like throw your, don't wash your towels every day, or do you need your linens changed, on a daily basis. So a number of those activities are probably the most prevalent.
Okay, great. And then how do you measure impact? So you say that basically there's no common definitions or terminology out there. Well, there's some, right? But it's varied, right? And so how do you help to solve that problem? How do you measure it and define it?
maybe I can talk about that in two ways. The first is a little bit of what we were chatting about before coming on stage. And again, this is not I'm sure a lot of the audience is very familiar with this. It's not a challenge that is just for travel, but a lot of consumer products, a lot of traveler or customer-facing interfaces do not have clear, credible, consistent ways in which to communicate more sustainable attributes. But as an industry and multiple industries, we also don't have a way to measure that, right? So it's not just a communication challenge, it's also a measurement challenge. And so the travel industry does not have one way of defining what is more sustainable travel. And in fact, we're not going to go down the rabbit hole, but the rabbit hole of, we're an online travel agency, an OTA, we're a platform, and so we have kind of flights, accommodations, attractions, cars, et cetera, which are all an industry in and of themselves. There's aviation, there's hospitality. So the complexity of, of multiple industries within an industry, sustainability is complicated. We don't have an aligned way of measuring that impact. Therefore, we don't have a way that we can communicate that information to travelers that are asking for it. So it's a challenge. We are looking for ways to do that. The Travelist group, which we were one of the co-founders of, that's an industry organization that is, whose purpose is to be able to create clear, consistent communication, et cetera. So there are ways in which we are working towards that. The European regulatory framework is also driving a lot of work in that space. They're searching for a lot more kind of credibility on the claim side, the communication to travelers, and so we see a lot of regulation coming in that space. So that's a little bit about measuring and communicating. What we are doing, the third thing is what we are doing specifically, because this is Climate Week, I'll use, we have net zero targets, right? So we were the first OTA to set science-based, SBT aligned and approved net zero targets, which is very exciting. And so that is our primary way of measuring our own impact and measuring kind of our progress towards that state, that end state of net zero. So our targets are to be net zero by 2040, and we have 2030 milestones on the way there, but it's right around the corner.
Getting closer, yeah.
It is.
Time travels fast in that space. Well, can you give us a sense of some of the ways that you plan on reaching net zero?
This is, I think the mantra or the main talking point within our organization right now in sharing this information is there's no silver bullet. I think we set the target. It was just validated this year, the beginning of this year, and so we're in the road mapping phase. There are a vast array of efforts that we have to undertake, whether that is, there's purchasing agreement, or power purchasing agreements, there's energy, like how are we doing our renewable energy approach, what are we doing for employee travel. We've heard a lot about SAF earlier today.
Sustainable aviation
fuels. Thank you, sustainable aviation fuels. So how do we bring down the footprint of our employee travel, et cetera. And then there's, of course, a very large area in terms of our Scope 3 work that is just, we don't have the solutions for yet. I think we've heard that repeatedly this week already, and it will continue. But there's a lot of partnership that needs to be built, a lot of new solutions that still have yet to be found.
What is happening industry-wide and also on collaboration, with other industries or other sectors?
Yeah. So I think I mentioned, I was previously in apparel, in the apparel sector, and I'm new to travel. I'm not new to sustainability, but I'm new to travel. And I think what's been very interesting is the frequency of transferability of the efforts. So yes, I do think that the travel industry as such is earlier in its collaboration and organization as an industry than the apparel sector was. And so you see that in a few different ways. I think that's whether it is industry groups, like who's convening and who's their industry level targets and goals are a little bit earlier as well. And I think what's really beautiful is that there are things that we can take and learn from other industries that we can actually kind of brush off and maybe change a few things for travel, but pick that model up and shift it over. So whether that is a solutions-driven organization like an accelerator, right? There is the Fashion for Good is an accelerator based in Amsterdam, bringing new technologies, entrepreneurs together, giving them tools, connecting them with suppliers in order to get those more sustainable practices into supply chains. Why don't we have that? We could do that. We need that. There's a model for that we can use, that we can really bring on board and actually replicate, so that it's not just Booking Holdings, but it is multiple different parts of the chain working on it.
Looking forward, so as we've talked about, there's still a lot of work to be done in this area, but you guys are thinking about it. What do you expect to happen in the future, and how might the sustainability and travel options improve over time here?
Well, I expect that we will come together. We will be setting industry level targets so that we can actually all move towards what we know our travelers, our customers are asking for, and I say that in aggregate. And I hope that we reach those targets that the World Travel and Tourism Council laid out for 2033, and we do that in a more sustainable manner, and that we're able to make it easier for everyone to experience the world, because that's what travel is about, and I think that that's an important aspect to everyone's experience.
And I apologize if I blanked out. Did you mention what the goals were for the World Travel Council?
The WTTC, the World Travel and Tourism Council. It is the estimation that in 2033 we will reach, the travel industry will account for $15.5 trillion in GDP, which is a little bit over 11.5% of global economy.
For those in our audience, what would you say is one easy thing they can do as individuals to make a difference the next time they plan to travel or book a reservation at a restaurant or any of the services that your providers offer?
Just one?
Oh, well, we have 24 seconds, so however many you can fit in that.
I mean, I think it's pay attention. Every little step counts. Every little choice that you make actually counts. If you brought a reusable water bottle today, that counts, and it actually makes a significant difference. As you can see, there's paper cups out there. So every choice that you make matters. So think about that when you're planning your trip. Go for the easy things at first, maybe layer on over time. And as our platforms offer you the kind of guideways for more sustainable travel, so is this a certified property, is this X, is this Y, use those. Use those flags and those guardrails to make the choices that you want.
Great, well thank you. Looks like we're at the end of our time, and thank you for an insightful discussion.
Yeah, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.